Hey everyone, HAVOC here. So going into this video, I just want to forewarn, this will be the final episode of Inspired By on this channel. I'll go into further detail in a next video, the next video. But yeah, just wanted to give a little disclaimer. Things are happening. Good things, don't worry. But yeah. So, in the meantime, enjoy the video, and yeah, here's Inspired By. What up everyone, I am Gallant Havoc and welcome back to Inspired By, where I talk about some of my favorite artists and how they inspired me as an artist and creator. And this time around we're going back to another manga artist, or mangaka, and probably one who has possibly been the biggest inspiration for me in terms of art and storytelling. And that artist is none other than the famed creator of the hit series Fullmetal Alchemist, Hiromu Arakawa. Like the late great Kazuki Takahashi, Arakawa inspired me and helped me to develop a more anime manga-like style, and was the one who made me really drive to create stories through my art and writing. But before I go any further into that, I want to talk about how I'm going to do these videos from now on. I will admit, in past Inspired By videos, I kind of went too heavy into the artist's career and didn't really talk all that much about how they impacted me. And thanks to my good friend Chris, aka Gun the Reaper, for pointing that out. So this time around, not the case. I'll give a quick skim over of their career highlights, then really delve into their technique and style and how it affected and inspired me. Then finish off with my take on one of their characters, as per usual. And one more twist.
I am not this small.
That's better. From here on out, I will model my avatar after the artist's style, or at least try to. Then have my final piece of one of their characters be in my style. I figure this can be a unique exercise for me to do as we do these videos because, I'll be honest, I'm struggling to find ways to better my own style. I've hit a wall, so to speak. So I think this could be fun, if not challenging, which it very much has been. So let's jump in. Born in Tokachi, Hokkaido, Japan, Arakawa was raised on a dairy farm where she picked up on being an artist from a young age. She has stated she wanted to be a manga artist since she was little. Wow, starting from a young age and coming from humble beginnings. That sounds a lot like me, actually. Anyway, she would create doujinshi, or fan-made manga, in high school, and after graduating she would then take oil painting classes for 7 years before going on to have her first published work, Stray Dog, in Square Enix's monthly Shonen Gangan in 1999. And tell me the one-eyed hero with a big sword and a cape doesn't look familiar. Then would come the time of her most famous work in the form of Fullmetal Alchemist, with its first chapter being published in July of 2001, also in monthly Shonen Gangan. Spanning 108 chapters with 2 anime series, 2 movies, light novels, and video games, Fullmetal Alchemist was extremely successful, winning awards and ranking high in fan polls. And when it comes to the 2 anime series, I personally prefer Brotherhood. Definitely top 10. Not smashing the 03 anime, but that's just me. At least Brotherhood had an actual ending.
You just can't help yourself, can you?
Reviewers and critics have praised Arakawa's work on the series, noting that her more comical style actually helped accentuate the darker themes of the series, of which, trust me, Fullmetal Alchemist has plenty of them. Like a certain perfectly okay act done by everyone's favorite anime dad, Shao Tucker.
That person, Edward.
Someone ought to put you in a mental hospital.
I'll see myself out. Since Fullmetal, Arakawa has worked on several other projects, such as Silver Spoon, the manga adaptation of The Heroic Legend of Arslan, and most recently, Daemons of the Shadow Realm, though none of them have acquired the same amount of airtime or success as what came before with Fullmetal Alchemist. So with Arakawa's career out of the way, let's dive into her style and technique. Among manga artists, Arakawa has a very recognizable style, leaning not too far to the traditional, stereotypical anime look, incorporating her own trademark look that adds a more Western vibe to her characters. Though there are still plenty of staple anime style influences spread throughout, particularly when it comes to the more comical and animated chibi style. Especially during Ed's many outbursts with the usual,
But he's a runt.
Oh, yeah, can a runt do this? Don't call me little!
Go on, say little. I dare you.
You're little.
She also knows how to make each character look and act unique to one another. Edward and Alphonse, for example, are just as much polar opposites as they are similar, with Ed being more hot-headed while Al is the more diplomatic of the two. But they always come together in the end. Or the contrast between Mustang and Bradley's views on war, with Mustang seeing soldiers as inexpendable, while Bradley sees them as ever-changing pieces on the board with little to no significance save for the objective at hand. Or hell, when it comes to the homunculi, making them look and act exactly like they are named, while also surprising you with how deeply thought out their characters are. I will die on this hill, that is why Sloth is written so lazily. Which is another thing, Arakawa really knows how to write good villains, with Father and the homunculi being some of the best written bad guys out there. I would go into more detail myself, but that completely changed the trajectory of this video, so instead I highly recommend giving this video by Savage Books a watch. Link in the description. Hell, while you're at it, subscribe to his channel. He's got plenty of good analyses and pointers, especially if you're an aspiring writer like myself. But anyway, back to Arakawa, and how she inspired me as not only an artist, but a writer and a storyteller. Like I said before, Arakawa went alongside Kazuki Takahashi in inspiring me to draw in a more anime-like style. But it doesn't stop there. I've said this particular train of phrase before, reason I played versus reason I stayed. So while Takahashi is arguably who started my love for the anime style, alongside others less so, like Akira Toriyama and Rumiko Takahashi, who was also an influence of Arakawa's, it was Arakawa who ultimately made me shift and stay to that style, and then some. Full disclosure, it was Fullmetal Alchemist that would ultimately lead me to starting the long talked about, long promised, but yet to be formally delivered Elysia Chronicles. And it started with a very shoddily drawn comic by a very inept 12-year-old Gallant HAVOC. There are so many characters, settings, themes, and motifs of mine that are directly influenced by Fullmetal. It's not even funny. In said shoddily drawn comic, there was even a character that was a dead-on reference to the food stall man from the first volume of Fullmetal. Even Central City was what I initially based Theron City off of, though the current iteration has changed quite a bit besides it still being a walled-off city. And while honestly this gives more credence to the phrase, nothing is original anymore, I feel it's still my responsibility as a creative to tell the story I want to tell, regardless of what influenced you, so long as it's not page for page, word for word knockoff. But before I go any further into the Elysia Chronicles, because it gives me anxiety enough as it is just thinking about how much I still need to work on it, I'd like to turn once again to Arakawa's art. I can trace my own style back to when I first saw the cover of Volume 1 of Fullmetal Alchemist. It seemed simple. So of course, foolish little me thought, hey, I could do that too. But upon actually giving it a go, I realized I was way over my head. And so the practice commenced, deconstructing the horrid, shoddy style I did before then, and slowly reconstructing it into what it is today. Sound familiar?
Equivalent exchange!
Easily the biggest and most meaningful message from Fullmetal. There's no such thing as a painless lesson, whether taught by others or taught by yourself. I've always known that to be true, and it's become increasingly obvious as I've been writing this episode. So with all that being said, here's my take on one of the villains of Fullmetal Alchemist, Lust. I admittedly didn't know who I wanted to draw at first, but I had a lot of fun making this one, especially since I admittedly am not the best at drawing women. So, in case you haven't noticed, Hiromu Arakawa is one of my biggest influences. In terms of storytelling, she is probably the biggest, if not for Hideo Kojima. I said what I said. But anyway, folks, that about wraps up this episode. On the next episode, we'll return to manga once again with a much more recent inspiration of mine. Someone known for creating one of the most bloody, brutal, and darkest manga of all time.
In this world, is the destiny of mankind controlled by some transcendental entity or law? Is it like the hand of God hovering above? At least it is true that man has no control, even over his own will.
That's right, we are going to talk about the late great creator of the infamous manga hit, Berserk, Kentaro Miura. And I am so looking forward to that. So in the meantime, folks, I'm Gallon Havoc. Wreak some havoc, and I'll see you in the next episode of Inspired By.